After spending so long with Once Human ahead of release, I wanted to break down exactly what you can expect from this new post-apocalyptic MMO survival game, and shed some light on why it's in the top 10 wishlisted games on Steam. Because it literally seems to have everything you'd want in an open world survival MMO. From strange Lovecraftian themed boss fights you've never seen before, otherworldly forms of transportation ranging from motorbikes and cars to monstrous buses that can be attacked and then ridden along the highways that span the 256 square kilometre open world map. You've also got the hunting, stealth assassinations, and while most of the gameplay is third person, you can actually go into first person to aim down the sights of your weapons. Once Human even has a narrative storyline, base building, roleplay game skill progression, armor and weapon customization, pets, abilities, co-op raids, and optional PvP events, or even just hardcore PvP servers, depending what you're looking for. And Once Human has sponsored me to tell you that the game will be launched on the 9th of July. And if you actually pre-download the game from the link below, you can actually jump on the free demo yourself right now from the 10th to the 17th of June. But this is what you can expect from the gameplay. Firstly, you're going to start out in character creation, where you should actually pay close attention because your character's weight will actually give you more stamina and a faster attack speed with the lighter you are. Whereas if you make a thick character, you'll be able to carry 25% more, deal more damage on melee attacks, and weapon stability will also be slightly improved. But you will have to fat roll. Now, as for the actual character customization, they went for this hyper-realistic approach with very detailed hair, skin, complexion, freckles, and you can even further customize your face structure, eyebrows, lips, nose, everything. And of course, body type changes like arm size, chest size, and so on. But after you've made your character, you're going to jump straight into the main story, or the prologue of it. This will take you like 20 minutes, and it's pretty much the only linear part of the game you'll experience. And it basically introduces you to the world, the basic mechanics of gameplay, like looting the environment, eating and drinking to maintain your stamina regeneration. But don't worry, unlike other survival games, you don't need to drink every 5 minutes in this game to survive. But the game will reward you if you do invest in the cooking skill with some great buffs later on. But you'll be playing as a meta-human who survived the apocalyptic contamination of Earth here in confinement, where we start the game. And straight after the prologue, we're going to be falling into the open world map with other players. And the first thing you'll notice as you're dropping in is all of these huge structures and locations off in the distance. You'll see everything from built up cities with hospitals to remote military bases and farms. And these locations are referred to as strongholds. And when you enter one of these strongholds, you actually get a list of objectives like kill 5 enemies or loot some containers. And if you do all these mini missions, you'll actually get a reward of even more bonus loot. Now, beyond these mini quests, the game often surprised me when it came to unique tailor-made encounters with puzzles. Sometimes you need to pick up clues scattered around the area to solve a riddle, which would be the code to a locked container, and that would allow you to complete the quest in that area. On top of that, the area might also have a uniquely themed boss that fits in with the theme of that place. Or there'll be some anomalies to interact with until you discover a secret treasure chest. Or sometimes it's just like a hidden location, like an underground cellar that leads to a labyrinth with a survival shelter at the end with some loot. Or even this parkour course, where if you reach the top of all these stacked up cars, you'll get some pretty decent loot. And if you thought that was a bit of a fever dream, well, check out this next one where you need to find the deviant pet in a field of exploding sheep and claymores. It's lots of handmade, tailor-made content like this that actually really surprised me and kept me playing. And then obviously you have the unique world bosses that you're going to be encountering in many of the strongholds. You'll also be finding settlements and NPCs throughout the world who are going to give you more quests and things to do. And that's beyond obviously the main storyline, which I don't want to spoil for you guys. One of the things you will come across though are these beacons, which if you activate will unlock the monolith dungeons. Now monoliths are the giant buildings with the laser beams coming out the top, and they're basically the group raid encounters with various different rewards ranging from new gear to weapon mods that you can buff your equipment with. There's normally 4 beacons assigned to each monolith, and once you activate them all, you can enter the monolith and go into the raid encounter. These can be done in co-op or in solo, and each boss has different mechanics that you'll need to figure out to actually defeat them. Like this one with the turret-wielding enemy, you actually need to shoot off his arm before you can really start to deal damage to it. And you'll find tons of different bosses and experiences in these raid encounters and also in the main story itself. Let's go over the base building and survival mechanics, because I know people either love or hate these systems, and Once Human does a great job of making it super easy to get into, so it doesn't feel like a grind to actually do this stuff. So when you start base building, you need to make a camp by planting a hive territory beacon. This basically sets a building zone that only you can build in, and you can put this wherever you want, so long as you're not too close to another stronghold or a road, and obviously someone else's base. But beyond that, you can literally build wherever you want in this world. And the best thing about this system is that you can actually move your entire base even once you've constructed it with just the press of a button. And once you've laid everything out and got it just how you like it, you can literally save your base as a blueprint, which can then be built again instantly or even transported onto different servers. So you don't need to start from scratch every single time. My god, I wish every survival game had this mechanic. And you can also make guilds with your friend and allow them to build in your territory and even share the crafting materials as well, making it a great co-op experience. You can also fast travel to and from your base wherever it is. And on the subject of fast traveling itself, the map is 256 square kilometers, and you'll be able to unlock these different radio towers scattered across it, which you can activate. You literally just walk up to it and activate it, and then it unlocks it as a fast travel point for you to return to at any point, which is ideal before you unlock your motorbike. But before we actually craft anything, we should really open the Cradle backpack and check out all the memetic skills. We start out with 10 points, so we can unlock various different crafting facilities to get started. And this is basically the progression system skill tree. As you level up, you're going to unlock access to stronger ammunitions, farms, turrets. Later, you can also unlock combat buffs after killing certain bosses as well. Next though, like any survival game, we need to gather the materials required to build our base. Initially, you'll literally be hitting a tree with a rock, but as soon as you craft an axe and pickaxe, you can actually start felling trees and mining copper. There are obviously higher level ores and materials that you'll be gathering later in the game, but this is all we need at the early stages. We can use a furnace to burn the wood into charcoal and then melt the copper ores into ingots. With that, we can then craft a disassembly bench, which breaks down all of the loot we find all over the world into usable crafting materials. And obviously, as you're adventuring, you're going to be looting all the boxes, finding things scattered around the environment, like any post-apocalyptic game. The difference is that you can break down all of this stuff and actually craft stuff from it. Now, the building system is actually great. You have your windows, walls, doors, and pillars and fences, all used to create the structure of whatever building you want to make. And a list of unlockable workbenches for crafting, storage, turret fortifications, which require power generation as well. But you can then even customize your home with lighting, tables, chairs, beds, floors and wall patterns, and it just keeps going on and on. As far as building your base and customizing it, this is definitely going to be something you can spend a lot of time doing. And overall, compared to other games, it won't take you very long to gather the resources and craft a decent sized base. For me, this means I can spend more time doing the stuff I want to do instead of looking for resource nodes and just farming the environment for outs. Heck, you can even make a portable base on the back of a trailer and then put turrets on it and drive around without ever needing to worry about relocating in the future. Obviously, your bike and cars can also be upgraded with engine parts to go faster and get better handling as well. This is one of the few survival games I've played where stamina is just not really noticeable in a good way. You never find yourself trying to chop down a tree and then having to wait 10 seconds for your stamina to regenerate again. As for food and hydration though, they're split into quadrants, and you'll get a boost to your sprint speed and stamina costs for staying fully hydrated. But you actually get a massive debuff if you don't look after your character. But again, if you're eating and drinking once an hour, you will never have a problem of having to constantly keep an eye on this or anything. And while playing, I always found way more food than I needed. So Once Human really isn't one of those annoying survival games where you spend all your time surviving. But when you enter polluted zones, drinking dirty water or even fighting otherworldly enemies will actually reduce something called your sanity meter. And this is kind of the main mechanic to keep an eye on, because as you're out there battling enemies or even eating raw meat, your sanity will get lower, and that actually reduces your max health, as you can see here. If you let your sanity reduce your max health by half, you'll then get something called a whim, which is basically a temporary negative debuff to your character, but you can later remove it by using different medical supplies. But what I mentioned so far is really only like 20% of the game, which is like surviving, crafting, base building. I spent most of my time exploring the strongholds in the open world, doing the main quest, and also just taking part in all the events I came across as I was exploring, which occurs really naturally when you're playing the game. Like one event I did covered an area in fog so I could hardly see like 5 meters away, and then spawned in some enemies in the mist for me to kill with a minigun that they provided. So it was just like a lot of fun. And the game actually rewards you by unlocking pets and exclusive gear by taking part in them. Your base can even get raided by the deviant monsters, and you can defend it with turrets and traps with your friends. And while all of that is player versus environment, there are actually player versus player specific servers, but also there's PvP events that you can still take part in on the PvE servers if you want. Like there could be a stronghold conquest event which basically pits 2 groups against each other for control of that location's resources. So if you're like me and you love PvE but then you want to jump into some PvP now and again, this is the perfect compromise. Obviously, if you die in Once Human, you can just fast travel back to any beacon you've unlocked or respawn at your portable camp. I normally place mine nearby particularly difficult strongholds that I'm trying to beat. Now, the world map itself is obviously huge, and it's split into swamps, deserts, islands, and forest biomes. And as you explore the stronghold facilities and defeat the different bosses, you're going to unlock hundreds of blueprints for armor and weapons. Some of these golden weapons I unlocked required me to get multiple different fragments from different areas of the map before I could craft the weapon. As far as weapons go, you've got pistols, shotguns, rifles, assault rifles, flamers, machine guns, bows, and melee weapons. You also have 3 weapon slots. So you've got 2 ranged weapons and 1 melee weapon. And then for your armor, you've got legs, boots, gloves, hat, and chest armor. Each armor and weapon actually has different buffs and effects, and you can also customize your weapons with scopes, stocks, and silencers, and even find mods that give them more damage buffs. They've also added deviation pets like the butterfly, which you start out with, or the electric eel, which you can unlock. Some of these are even going to mine and cook for you, so there's lots of different things to collect here. But in that sense, it's been great to see the developers actively listening to feedback and changing the game through these early beta stages. Honestly though, there is so much to cover in Once Human. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface by trying to describe most of the things I've found in this video. But if you want to test it out for yourself, you can do so for free by clicking the link in the description.